So, I'm listening to Fire Creek Forge in my ear right now. Obviously can't show that for copyright laws, but I wanted to show you my shipment order from Niroc. Niroc is a carbide tipped ball peen hammer, and they've got some different heads on there. And when I was looking at these hammers, I was trying to come up with a way to solve my warpage issues when quenching some of my Damascus patterns and high carbon steel blades. I'm more of a novice at this than anything else. I'm collecting my tools, and so I reached out to the expertise of Corin and some of the other names like even Jesse Who, Forge and Fire. Some of these guys are starting to utilize these things, and there's a lot of different viewpoints on if you should ever hammer a knife after you've quenched it. The Royer team says absolutely not. In Jesse Who's video, he did hammer with the Niroc hammers after it had been quenched. So I will say that my personal journey on whether that method is good or not is out. I think you take a risk anytime you are hammering steel in its quenched and annealed state, because the heat treat is such an important factor in how crystalline structures line up. That being said, I was going to do just a fresh unboxing, and I was going to use a knife and cut it open. My lovely father, unfortunately, well, he opened the package while I was not here. So anyways, this is the hammers. I got these hammers from Niroc on sale, and it was a combined sale of 3 hammer heads together without the handles. So I just went to the local building center and I got a couple of different type of hammer handles to see which ones will fit. I didn't read my product order close enough to verify exactly what type of hammer handle would fit these, but I will say when you're dealing with somebody like an Australian company that is different than the United States, you're probably, if not definitely, gonna have to make alterations anyways. So I'm just showing you what it looks like to get a package from Niroc, N-I-R-O-C. They've been very well used in the knife making community so far. Even Housemade is using those type of hammers to put in the marks on their package that they get the coffee handles to show kind of a dented pattern on the outside of the copper. So if you're interested as a knife maker, as a blacksmith, as a professional craftsman, and doing something that is going to take steel and very directly change the symmetrical portion of your knife to be more consistent and engineered, then this is probably the way to go. There's a lot of different knife makers that have these on their recommended tool lists. So I'm just letting you know that if you're shipping it from Australia all the way to Montana, there are options for you that can reduce the price. It was brilliant of them to ship just the hammerheads and not the handles. It reduces the overall package dimensions, and that's what weighs into the logistics costs of the shipping. So to get just the hammerheads, and I'm gonna put on the handles myself, this is gonna be a great option for somebody that lives out in not quite the boonies, but the boonies from Australia. Anyway, all right, here we go. Dad, you want to check the camera? Make sure you can zoom in on this. If you could. Are you in this viewable area? Alrighty, so looking at the package that we get from Niroc, immediately what I can see is that this is not a direct oval hammerhead. This is more of this type of almost a rectangle with some rounded ends and a hammer handle, but it is very small. If you can see, I'm still gonna have to grind this down. That's totally fine. It's just something you're gonna have to do because things in different countries and different areas are just different with the way that they take measurements or build standards. So I'm just going to go over the hammer heads themselves, talk about what they were kind of described for, my interpretation of what I'm going to use them for, and then discuss why a novice like me purchasing something like this has a large learning curve. Okay, so let's start with this. This hammerhead has a carbide flat tip here. Now, the flat tip can be for, number one, just blacksmithing, shaping something with a carbide end specifically well. It can be to remove some of your indentations, you know, kind of flatten out and perfect where you had some of your hammer marks go awry. And on this side, this is brass. You know, if you're hammering on something that needs some specific weight, but it's a softer material, it could be your Knifemaking that you're going to make maybe out of quarters or something like that I've done, and there's some videos on that out there. It's something that can be very specifically well used on softer material. And then if you need to change from where the bolster is at, you know, where you have, you know, maybe on the guard, the Knifemaking right to the transition of where your steel is, you can switch back over and take out some of those dings here. This is supposedly this flattened edge that they sell with the carbide tip, designed to be for what they say larger knives are, whereas the ball peen hammer shape is going to leave very small indentations. This flat-edged carbide tip is specifically for what they say a larger, wider blade, right? So as opposed to if you have a warp in here, you're going to take this just like you would the rear end of an engineer's hammer and start hammering at a cross angle across your knife to take out a larger warp and flatten the whole area. And so far what I've seen when they use that, the peen side as opposed to the rounded side, it's more of like going all the way across the blade. So if you were going to use this peening side of this carbide, you'd go from the spine of the knife to the edge and you'd make a pattern, small indentations across, small indentations across, small indentations across. Is almost as if you were texturing the blade, but what you're doing is you're creating an even push of this steel and its structure to flatten out that whole space. Because typically in a warp, it'll come to a large, you know, spherical center where it's warped, and that's where, in theory, you want more pressure. But as you hammer the center of that sphere, it's going to start making elemental changes that need to be continued to push out. Now, again, I am not a smithing expert, but one thing that I have noticed about moving steel is it gives me the appearance of trying to iron a t-shirt. If there's a wrinkle somewhere, you start at the center of the wrinkle, and you like if we use this tablecloth as an example, you're going to start here and push it out, and then there's going to be ripple marks or new movements in the steel that you then have to, okay, well now we got to square that flat, now we got to square that flat, now we got to square that flat from the center to the edges or from the space where it's at to the other forms of the new move steel in your knife. So those are just awesome things that I've at a novice level learned. You're going to learn that better than I will, and as an expert, or depending on who you watch, they most definitely will explain it better or in a way that is more easily understood at the learned level of where you're at. So, okay, so that's that one. I've talked about that one. Now this is specifically almost a copper head, similar to what we have here in the brass. On this side, it's just for non-high carbon metals for a softer landing. You do not want to use this on steels where you will dent your hammer face, and denting your hammer face, and not so good. This is a like plastic, like almost a micarta type plastic, and this is for, you know, just moving some things into place, like let's just say it's a machine where you've maybe tightened one of your handles down, not like an actual bolt, right? Because you don't want to use steel on any of your soft materials, but your hammer handle down, you just need to tap it so that you can loosen it a little bit. This is great for that type of a thing. I got the package together because you will always notice when you buy a tool, you need more than what you have purchased, and so I got the package together because it was on sale. It was all three together, and I didn't want to miss out on the tools that I would need at a later point and have to ship it from Australia, where this stuff is made, at the shipping cost. You know, not that it was the total cost of the object. I think I got this together on sale for like $180 or something like that for the 3 hammerheads, but the shipping was like $50. So it was over $200 to get it here. And if you were going to buy an individual hammer, let's say these hammerheads were maybe they're $90 a piece, I can't remember, but then you would still be paying the individual shipping cost of near that $50 to ship something from Australia. So it behooves you to ship things together. And when you buy tools, buy the best that you can afford, and buy as much in the helpful category of what you can afford. That's probably not a good financial budget trait long term, but when you're in the collection of your tool market at the beginning of your career, if you see a package set of tongs or something like that, there's most definitely a reason why certain things are sold together in a set. Sometimes it's because the manufacturer has sold tools that aren't selling well and they're trying to get it off their shelves. But something like Blacksmith Depot or somebody who sells high volumes, they're just not going to make tools that don't sell for no reason. So if you see a package of 3 tongs or something sold together, it's usually due to the fact that you're going to end up using it at some time for some serious function that you just have not discovered yet. All right, I think you can cut it, Dad.